All right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's having a relaxing Sunday. It's a holiday weekend, and just wanted to jump on and put some information out for my parents, teachers. Feel free if the information helps you at any point to use it. But more so, this is definitely for my parents. We are here with parents, where we do it for parents, but we also work alongside of our parents just to make sure that our students are encouraged and that you know that we are here to support you on this journey. Because most parents are not pianists. So a lot of times they're like, Miss Burton, this is hieroglyphics or French. But I'm here to break things down for you and to let you know that it's easier than you think. And we're doing it with you, reminding our children, encouraging them to not procrastinate and to fix their schedules and to become more organized. And we're here laying it one brick at a time with you to build this thing that we call a solid foundation, which their talent and their gift sits on. All right, so let's get started together. Um, I always like to ask the question about writing a book because I feel like, number one, uh, the title of every book sums up what's inside the book. And number two, I am writing a book in this season called Acoustic Version. So look out for that soon. Just wanted to kind of put it out there. But if you could write a book about your young pianist and it talks about how they approach music, would you entitle it The Comfort Zone, The Growth Zone, The Panic Zone, or The Learning Zone? What would you name it? And you could either drop it in the comment section for those who are on, you're watching the replay, drop it in the comment section, or you could drop it in your heart where you get a chance to really think about it and process where your young pianist is in this whole process because it matters. It matters where you believe that they are. It matters what the evidence is showing about where they are. And then it matters because you could be proactive about motivating them if they're in a good space or encouraging them if they're in a space that needs a little bit of encouragement. So we're here for it. So today is going to be a really cool Sunday. I hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday. But I'm here with a guest, and that guest is a friend that I went to college with and somebody that I love to talk to because they're so full of wisdom and information. And today we are going to be discussing a topic that I reinforce with my students all the time, talking about those different zones. Uh, and as you are typing in your answer or processing your answer, this community event today is meant to really get you thinking about where your child is as a young pianist. And the different titles were actually the zones that I mentioned. And these zones come with its own set of challenges, right? Like, oh, I want my child in the growth zone. Oh, I want my child in the learning zone. Or I want my child in the panic, or I don't want my child in the panic or fear zone, or I don't want my child in the comfort zone. But how we handle these challenges could really determine the success for our students and the happiness as they're going through and succeeding. So Colette Boston is here with me, with us, right, to just share a few thoughts about one of the zones today. So I want us to give her a warm BBSM welcome, and we're ready to get it going. So Colette, welcome
Hello,
to this conversation
everyone.
today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Everyone, thank you for having me. Your topics are very interesting and very well thought out, and I'm so glad that you thought of me for this. Um, we have known each other for a while, and we talk a lot about different subjects.
Mhm.
This we talked about very briefly, but the
Mhm.
learning zone. How do you learn? Um, what type of learner are you?
Right,
This is so important.
right.
And the reason it's important because it helps to h- help the parent, the teacher, and the student themselves to figure out what it is I'm best at and what it is that I do best.
Mhm,
So, one of the things that we learn as a piano teacher or as a pianist, you have to have focus and concentration.
mhm,
Why is that important? Focus is pinpointing and it's a laser point of your awareness about what you need to do.
mhm,
Concentration is something that you take with you for a while. While the focus is laser, it can't stay there forever. But so it gradually turns into concentration. And that concentration is a muscle, like a muscle, it has to be built. You can't automatically just have concentration. Some students that you think are concentrating are just spacing out. But we're going to leave that alone. But dealing with concentration, focus and concentration are the build one of the building blocks and one of the most important things for a piano student. Because if they can't concentrate, they can't practice. And if they don't practice, they won't get better. What say you, Miss Burton?
No, I'm blown already. I'm just like, wow, because I never even focus, concentration, like
Yeah,
to maintain that focus, you need to be able to concentrate. You know,
correct.
so I think that
Correct.
you're right. Sometimes when we think that the student is in line, are they really concentrating? You know, like, so I think that was you started off hot. You came in the room hot. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. But what I want to also push in is the how the other zones.
Okay, how the other zones come in. So the type of pianist that you are is really connected to the type of learner that you are. And there are many different types of learners. There are
Okay.
social learners. What do they like to do? They like to talk to everybody. They're happy go lucky. They like to know what everybody else is doing. And they learn best in groups.
Mm,
Then it's the physical learner, the hands on. And that's why piano is so important as the first instrument because most of these learning zones or learning curves and different parts of the brain are activated through piano because piano hits every one of these things.
wow.
So you become a part of a social, not a social club, but you become social because you have the recitals, you see each other, you become friends. They have play dates. I've seen that happen with just going to a piano lesson or a lesson period. The other thing is that if you're a physical learner, you're tactile. You want your hands on, you got to touch, and you tend to be high energy, bouncing off the walls because you need to do something in order to slow yourself down. So
Right.
when you get your hands on those keys and you are able to focus and then concentrate, you're able to understand what's going on. And you're
So
able to go ahead.
no, no, no. Finish your sentence.
And you're able to because many physical learners because they're so high energy you have to hit them in different ways of learning. You got to hit them with the auditory, which is the hearing. You got to hit them with the visual, which is the seeing. If you can get all three of those things together, their energy will be dispersed to different areas of learning and they will get it easier.
Right. And I think that the learning style that you're describing is it actually sounds like the most problematic type of child when it comes to learning, right? Oh, the child won't sit down, or the child won't concentrate, or the child won't, sometimes I will get an apology, a pre-apology from my parents. They're just like, Miss Burton, I just want to tell you off the back, my child's, and I'm like, it ain't just your child. But I always say to the parent, like, don't worry because it's the job of the teacher to really get things going with
Correct.
that child. So now if I can think back to a child, like to my childhood and my piano lessons, I was probably that child. My piano teacher was like, Miss Martin.
You know what? I think what it is with you, I think you were always smart. That's what it was. You always had a plan in your head and you knew where you wanted to go. And I think that you were oral, you could hear it, you could see it. You probably were hands on, but I also think that you saw patterns. And the patterns that you saw enabled you to be able to understand what you were seeing and
Mhm.
to make sense. So when we have kinesthetic learners, we think that they're physical learners. No, kinesthetic learners just need to touch it. They
Yeah.
need to be able to hold it. So that is why piano is so important too, because it is an instrument that you, well, most instruments you touch, but this one you can feel the depression of the keys. You can
Mhm.
feel when the keys are released and they come back up. You
Mhm.
can hear the notes. When you touch the pedal with your foot, you can feel. So there's so many different things that are going on with piano that is why it is the primary instrument or primary first instrument, because this kind of wakens up all the different intelligences within your child.
Right. Wow. So as a teacher, just to kind of like everything you have said is just like boop, boop, boop. My mind is just blown right now. But what I will add that as a teacher, making these different, you know, kinesthetic things available for exploration, I think sometimes is where we're like, don't touch it until we tell you to. You know, like I feel like we don't make piano lessons as fun and engaging for young people as we should. You know, we are, yes, we're teachers and we're showing them, but young pianists, they like to explore. They're
Right.
curious.
They
And
are.
I think creating a more explorative way of teaching for piano students, it takes some of the power out of our hands, but then it puts it into their ownership of the instrument, where it's just like, "Ah, I don't like this because it's the piano teacher's thing," versus like it being
My
their
thing.
my thing. You know what I'm saying? So um I like that. And parents, you know, if you're listening out there, giving kids time to have structured way of learning or practicing, and then giving them time to have creative time. So maybe saying, hey, today's practice, play your song for me 3 times. And then once you've done that, you have 10 minutes to come up with something and call me when you're done. And I want to hear what you create. There's, like giving that
Right, right.
flexibility to the child.
I like that. I like that a lot. And you know what I say, because I remember when I went to piano lessons, it was always structured. But there was a metronome. You never touched anything. You knew you had to just sit down. When my mother was a child and she took piano lessons, they used to hit her on her fingers. So it was never like the most fun thing that you could go to. So oftentimes you would lose piano students because they felt it wasn't fun and they felt like it was too structured. But if we can see and understand the different learners, we
Right.
can make it like
Differentiate it.
right, right. So if we talk about linguistic learners now,
Mhm,
they're verbal learners. They
mhm,
like to sing and they love and understand words. So you will see them singing the words, you will
mhm,
see them reading the words.
mhm,
Um, and they like information that is spoken or written.
mhm,
So, for instance, when you send home the note for the parent, they're going to look over it to make sure that they tell mommy and daddy what was done. You'll see some of the children, they'll look over to see what you're writing. Miss Burton, what are you writing today? They'll say something like that. That is a linguistic learner. They just want to know about the verbal. They love the verbal. They love to be able to
mhm.
talk, and they're probably chatting back and forth with you as you are during the piano lesson because they like the interaction. You know, there are nature learners who they learn best in nature, but because the piano is such a big instrument, most times you will not see it in nature.
Mhm,
But I was able to see a Canadian school do a whole entire concert in nature, and the piano was there on its own dais, and that was different. But the thing is, the piano would very rarely be outside.
mhm,
Interpersonal learners, they learn best in groups. So like, let's say for instance you were to have music theory
mhm,
and you wanted them to work in a group, they work really well with forming study groups, and they work well in groups, and they work well with quizzing each other so they understand what's going on. um, and remember, I don't remember when I used to help you with the piano. I was helping you as a teacher, and we used to have the children playing the piano together. That is
mhm.
also part of interpersonal learning where they're playing it together and they have fun because they can look over and see the other person's playing the same thing they're playing. And they can also look over and see, wait a minute, how did they do that? It makes them think, how do I? They learn through interaction. Some
Right.
students are like that.
Right.
Then there are verbal learners. They retain information by hearing and envisioning words. So, how does that learner look? Well, the learner will ask you questions. They're full of questions. Miss Burton, I wanted to do such and such. How do I do this? And then you tell her or him, and all of a sudden it makes complete sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have learners who maybe are maybe only children. They're solitary learners and they process information independently. So these learners, you can give them homework assignments, not even homework assignments. You can give them musical assignments. They will get it done because they know how
Mm-hmm.
to work independently.
That's it. So you listed the learners. Can you list them once one time again?
I am not even finished. I have three
Oh,
more to go, and then I'll be done.
that's none of them.
Auditory, auditory is when everything that is heard or spoken to them, they understand. So
Mhm.
when you are as a piano teacher, you will say, "I need you to play C, high C," so they know where to go to high C. So they understand that. There you see that some are faster at doing that than others because maybe they may not be auditory. Then you have logical learners. They're mathematical learners. And many people don't realize, but the piano is a mathematical piece.
It is.
That if you look at Bach and Beethoven, and you were to go and extrapolate the different mathematical formulas that were used to do this type of music, you will find out that this is a logical piece
Yes.
of not only information, but it's a when you look at it, the triangulation in of this, of the sound, the music, the voices, made it into a masterpiece. You're like, okay, this is amazing. Because when you have to write something, when you compose something, you're not just writing the words, you have to write the music as well. And if you are composing and you're writing the notes, you're writing the staffs, you are doing all types of learning in
All
between there.
types, Jim, all types.
So the other thing is that music theory. Music theory is the background behind music, is how music functions. And many mathematical or linguistic learners, they do well with music theory because they understand the background of how music works. And then we have the reading and writing learners or linguistic learners, and they prefer to learn through written words. And
Mm.
that would be that they would be singing along, they would be reading the words as they are playing. Like Mary had a little lamb, they're saying Mary had a little lamb. They're doing stuff like that. So I'm going to go through all of the um, you know what? The other thing is that when you write and you are in your and like Miss Burton will give you say, I need you to give me a bass clef. I need you to give me a treble clef. I need you to write that. I need you to put the staff wherever you need to do. That is musical theory. And musical theory is helps you to understand why music, how music is written, and the reasoning behind why the music was written. And also, when we go back into learning about reading and writing learners, that's one. And we have also the scientific learners, which are the logical learners. Then we have the auditory learners. Then we have the nature learners, which we don't get to see too much of. We have the interpersonal learners, we have the verbal learners, we have the solitary learners who are very independent. We have also the verbal learners.
Mhm.
Um, we have the kinesthetic learners, they like to touch. Um, we have the visual learners, and we have the oral or auditory. That is their primary way of learning. And then we have the social and the physical learners. All these types of children may exist in one person, one child. They may be able to access all of these, and some of them may be only able to access one or two. You have to be able to know. And then this is something else I love. As a learner, as you continue to learn, you can grow and develop into other types of learners. If you put your mind to it and you determine within yourself that this is what you want to do, you can also, um, I guess I would say, I would use the word repertoire. You can enlarge your repertoire. And
Yeah.
that means you can enlarge what you're able to do if
Mhm.
you put in your mind this is what you want to do. Yes,
Awesome.
Barton.
I like that. So let's start at the point of how these different learning styles benefit the parents. How do
Okay.
these different learning styles benefit the parents and benefit our young pianist?
Okay. Oftentimes, the parent themselves was this type of learner.
Mhm.
They have passed on some of the genes, and then because they have two parents, they may have two different styles clashing. Some styles clash. S- And you have to learn to find that lever that allows them to meld or mix together well.
Mhm.
So let's say you have a child who comes in and they're ready to go to the piano,
Mhm.
and mom and dad is yelling at them. They are an auditory learner, so whenever they hear stuff that they don't like, they shut down. When they
Mhm.
shut down, the visual part of them gets cut in half. So you need to know that if you are too impatient with some learners, they shut down and they stop learning. So for a parent, you have to know, was this how I was as a child? Because oftentimes your children mirror you. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes your children mirror you. So
I would say more
whenever
time.
the
Right.
thing is, I remember myself as a learner. No, I'm going to go back to my daughter. My daughter was the type of learner that she had all of these within her. She would sing, she was whatever. And then one time I remember I yelled at her and she shut down because she was the type of learner that she was always trying to make me happy. And when I realized what I had done, I apologized and I had to build her back up to where she had been before, because that one little um, yelling moment shut her down for a minute. She didn't want to do too much. She didn't even want to do the piano. So we have to be careful what
Mhm.
when we are dealing with our children, not to let our own impatience and our own inability to understand what the child is feeling to
Mhm.
stop them from being their best self. So, as parents, we must have patience. We must. Because our children, when it comes to practice, many of them don't want to. You have got to find ways where you have to tell them you have to, but you've got to make it so that it is fun at the same time as it is structured.
I like that you said that because the other day I had a conversation with a parent and she was like, I've been like really promoting rewarding children for what they do and just being in that space where we're giving them rewards, keeping track of their progress, stickers, 5 stickers, you get a lot.
Right, right, right.
She said, I'm not bribing my kid to do nothing. And I said, I hear you. I said, are you going to work and not getting paid?
Yeah.
That paycheck is a whole bribe to say, if you do this, I give you this. And I think that that is the system of the world. And it's okay to reward,
I
bribe
agree.
even sometimes, but
I
we don't
agree.
ever want to come from a negative standpoint ever. Like, how does negativity, I've been in the season where sometimes will choose silence. Because I'm like, if I don't know how to be encouraging or positive in this conversation or in me correcting my students, I would rather just not say anything at all because
Well said.
there is no way that negativity can promote a positive result. Like how? So
Agreed.
I like the fact that you shared that story. Thank you for being vulnerable in that moment because we all have those stories,
Yes.
where
Yes.
we could have chose peace, but we chose problems. You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally what it is. But thank you for sharing that because children will shut down. Like, put yourself in their shoes. Me put
Right.
myself in their shoes. Like, how would I feel if someone is coming at me with negative force to get me to do something positive. It does not happen. So I think that strategizing, and this is the point that we come from, knowing the learning style or the combination of learning styles and beginning to communicate, right? Because that's what a learning
Right.
style is. It's a communication. We learn to speak their language, right? We're
Right.
like, no, we
Right.
want you to do it this way. And it's like, but no, let me know how you talk. Because I'm gonna talk the way you talk so you'll understand the way you need to understand. And I'll get you to do what you need to do. So yeah, that parents hear that. If nothing else today, hear what Miss Boston said, you know?
It's funny. Sometimes when you're dealing with a child, we forget that they may act like they are little adults, but they're children. And sometimes we forget because they may do something so well that they are a child and they have a child's needs and they have a child's mind. Yes, they may have adult characteristics, but they are still children. And I think that sometimes we forget that. And we need to remember that in times where we're like, why are they not like this? Because they're still learning and they're still children.
Right,
And it's easy. And then, too, you want to make it a happy place,
right.
make it bright and colorful. Put put like how you can tape to the keys, like clouds. Say, I need you to touch the clouds today, and tell me what the clouds feel like as you are doing whatever. And then you could take that off and you could put on and you say, you know what, this is a little scratchy today. How does that feel?
Mhm.
Especially if they're tactile learners and they like that, that
Mhm.
will make their juices in their brain start to
Mhm.
flow, and they'll start thinking, oh yeah, this feels like this. And then you could tell them how it relates to the song, relate everything back to the music lesson so that there's a continuous flow of learning.
Mm.
Yeah. So
You
yeah.
already know. Okay, girl. No, I love that. I love that because again, I feel like as piano teachers, and this is a point where I had to grow as well, where it's just like being in. Okay, so my first degree is biology, right? And I was not a piano, a math and science teacher in the board of education. That was my first life, right? And we did a lot of lesson planning. We did a lot of differentiated instructions because I was teaching seventh grade science, sixth grade math, but within my classroom, right, there were students who were stronger at math. There were students who weren't as strong. So I would have to differentiate my instruction so that one class period would not go to waste for some kids and that all kids would be able to benefit in some way. But I think that connecting that same style of teaching to becoming a passionate piano teacher, it took me a long time to be like, wait, you need to use that same method in your piano teaching. Because if you want to get your, is that me? Was your phone ringing? Was your phone ringing? Was your phone ringing? Hold on. We gonna get her all the way together. Hmm. You may have to log off and then log back on. I think if some did someone call your phone? Yeah, definitely. So it probably like overtook. All right, cool. So log off and log back on. Yes, I told you guys, listen, Colette is definitely a world of information. And I'm just loving what she's bringing to the table. Parents, these are things that we have to think about. Like, what is my child's learning style? Like, how can I incorporate their learning style into their practice time, into their practice environment? How do you put that all in there? Like, if your child is a learner of sounds, maybe getting them to listen to the music. Yes, we're back. There we are. Getting them to listen to the musical songs that they're playing. If your child is a visual learner, creating a very good environment, in their piano practice room or their practice space with colors and pictures, just to get it visually. Because imagine, being a visual learner where you're like, oh my gosh, all these colors. And then you might come to your piano and there's nothing there and it's dry. You might be like, this is not a place where I really want to be because I need it to be more engaging. So,
Well, most piano places were dry. They were little rooms. Very rarely would you see like plants. You might get a couple of plants. You had a metronome, you had a piano, and you had books and a white wall.
I'm crying, but you're right. It's
That was it.
thinking back to my piano teacher's room. I'm like, it was dry. It was so dry.
It was. It was a drab little room. And sometimes you might get some light. You might have a window. More often night you were in a middle room, no window, no nothing.
Even
So
like in my college, saying, like thinking about the practice rooms, to be balanced, because we want to stay balanced. I love the balance. Like having nothing in a room could definitely help the focus and concentration.
yes, agreed.
But when you're
Agreed.
dealing with children
That's a
who
completely different.
are coming into, right, this new learning space, because I did a research on like the Eastern way of learning versus the Western, right? And that's us. And it's a few differences that they had where, like, if you are from the Western way of learning, the mentality is, if I don't get it the first or second time, I'm not good at it and I'm going to throw it away. In the Eastern culture, they're like, I can do everything. Math, I can do it. Music, I can do it. Piano, I can do it. Violin, I can do it. Sciences, I can do it. Like, they, in the Eastern culture, they believe that everything is possible, everything is attainable. I just need to know how. And I think
Correct.
that after reading that, I began to develop, like, listen, there's nothing that I cannot do. I just need to figure out how to do it. Maybe I just don't know how to do it. So when
Well
it
said.
comes to um our children, not to say that we're going to entertain them for the rest of their lives, but this is the developmental, like you said, laying one brick at a time, building a solid foundation. And that's really what Beverly Burton School of Music is about, building talent today to change lives tomorrow. Like, you got to build it. If our kids are used to like watching video games all day, and
They have no focus. They have no. They
listen,
have not even learned.
when I'm watching reels, boom, next. Where's the focus?
There's none. There's
There's
none.
and that's what we're really trying to build. So we don't want them to be entertained for the rest of their lives, but we definitely and truly want our children to build that foundation so that they can have the focus and they can have the concentration and they can be in a space where they it becomes an internal thing. So
Right.
it's like, I can be in a room that is completely dry, but the focus and the imagination and the determination is coming from my internals, my
Correct.
mind, like where it's coming from.
Correct.
So I just wanted to make that clarification, because it's just like, yeah, we're not trying to have these
Well
kids playing
said.
all day. But when it comes to the Eastern culture, these kids have been that foundation hasn't been laid since they were in the womb.
Well said. Well said. And the thing is, too, you have to look at it. It's not only the womb; it's the culture. I mean, from they go to church, it looks the same. They go to work, that looks the same. They go to the store, the bank, whatever. Everything is the same. There's nothing with us. Is differences in every place. And the thing is that when we have a child and we help this child to develop their learning skills and styles, they start to develop multiple intelligences
Right.
where they're able to see things spatially,
Hmm.
where they're able to see, be able to compartmentalize different things, and they're able to pack. You know, packing is a skill. being able to know how much to put what where to make sure you can fit everything that you want in that space. That is a skill set. Emotional intelligence is a skill set. So you have to understand that we are not building just piano players. We are
Come on, say
building
that.
better people for this world. This world is in a mess because most people have not been taught. They had to learn it themselves, and most of their teachers were horrible. So when you have a chance to help a child to structure a
Mhm,
child's life and to
mhm.
be one of the main building blocks of that child's life, this
Yes,
is what you need to do.
yes.
You know,
You said that so well. I feel like you advocating for Beverly Burton School of Music. Like that's what
I am all
come on,
day,
all
all day,
day.
all day. I'm a BDSM.
Come on, you
I'm a
BBSM
BDSMer.
honorary member. Okay, listen,
Hey,
you
yes,
worked alongside of me with the kids and stuff like that, and like you just said, like piano is the bonus.
it is. It is. It is the first instrument for a reason because it helps to capitulate the child into different types of intelligences, and it helps to solidify and engage the other types of learning styles that the child may have. So when you see that, then you have an understanding that, wait a minute, this child was bad in mathematics. All of a sudden, now they're playing piano. Their mind is able to go to another place and understand the mathematics that they were having problems with.
Because it's subconscious. You're hitting it
Yes,
on a subconscious level. Listen, you have the time signature. We're just going to just get musical for a minute, but you got the time signature. Let's just say 4/4. Top
one,
note, 4 beats in each measure. Bottom note tells you which note gets the beat. So you have 4 beats in each measure, quarter note getting the beat. And every time that child counts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, they're learning division because I have all of these beats, all of these measures, I'm dividing them up. If I have 10 measures and 4 beats per measure, that's 40 beats to the song. Like, so in their subconscious, they are becoming better at math. They're becoming
correct.
better at language because every note is on a line. So you're taking that letter E and you're saying every circle on the first line every time is an E. They have to know in their mind, oh, that's an E. Like the piano runs right. You know what I'm saying? Like that means higher notes. It runs left. So when I watch the notes run right, in my mind, I can see that the notes are getting higher. Even if I don't play it, I know. So there's just so many
So
subconscious.
many things that are going on there. And the thing is, they're finding out that piano signature, the time signature, the piano, the way the music, the notes, all of that is expanding the child's ability to understand the other subjects like science, like social studies, like spelling, because it is opening up, because music is a doorway. It opens you up to other doorways. You have to be careful what doorways you go into, of course, but music is one of those doorways that opens up your mind to possibilities.
Right, right, right. Right. All right. So I just want to share something on the screen real quick. Let's see. Oh, could I have done that? I think so. Add item. Hmm. Maybe I don't know how to do this, and I might have to save it. But I wanted to share. Oh, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Let's go to present. Present slide. You have no slides. Excuse me. I'm just like, well, how disrespectful is that? All right, let me come back over here. All right. Nah, okay, I'm not even gonna do it. But anyway, so here we go. I'm gonna just share it from what I'm looking at, right? Thank you, Colette, for sharing this information today. It's so like poignant. And I hope that parents, we begin to really do our children a service and figure out what their learning style is if you have not done that already. And I'm sure part of it is taking the time to be observant. what makes your child happy, what make them excited about learning, and like just be observant, right? So the different zones that we are focusing on with our children are the comfort zone. We all know about that. We tell our children all the time, oh my goodness, you're in the comfort zone. And some of the signals of the comfort zone: sense of control, safety, stagnation, boredom. So if you hear your child using that language, I'm bored, this is not going anywhere, uh I don't want to move from here, like your child has been on the same piece for about 3 months, that's a sign that your child is in the comfort zone. And that is not necessarily a zone that you want them to be in always.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes safety is good, right? Because safety breeds in confidence, right? If they know something, they get confident about it, and maybe that's the piece that you bring them back to every time, just to kind of build that confidence, because when things get new, it gets hard. So just to bring them back to center, you have that piece. So we talked about the comfort zone, we talked about the fear zone: low self-confidence, moaning about something, excuses, oh my dog ate my homework, focusing on problems, oh I can't do this because it's too hard. When you're in that zone, that is the fear zone. And you have the comfort zone, and picture it, right? And procrastination is another one in the fear zone. But you're in the comfort zone, everything is safe, and then you're moving into the fear zone. That next zone is obviously the fear zone, because you're going to resist, what I'm saying,
The
moving from
changes.
resisting the changes. Then what you talked about today is the learning zone: facing challenges. So getting a child to understand what their learning strengths are, getting a parent to understand what their learning strengths are, right? Strengths. That means that we are equipping children to understand how to fight against challenges. Oh, just do better. Well, what does that mean? All right, well, when the challenge hits, just push through. Well, what does that mean? No, if you know your strengths, well, I'm an auditory learner. So since this book is hard for me to read, I'm going to YouTube and I'm going to find the audio book, because I don't like reading. But I know that my strength is auditory learning.
And I know I'm intelligent. I
And I
just,
know I'm intelligent. That part. Because sometimes when you don't know that you have a strength, it plays on your confidence with even believing that you are. Oh, why can't you do this? You can never do this. You can never get their homework done.
why
You can
can't you be
never.
like your
Why
sister?
can't you be like your cousin down the road who's playing the piano so good, and I put you in this, and you wasting my money? Why? You hit the nail on the beyond on the head. So facing challenges, you have to know your learning style, because then we're pushing kids back into the comfort zone, because they like, what's this?
I
If
don't
learning
like it out
is this,
here.
I don't like it out here. I want to go back to the place where nobody was disturbing me here. I wasn't
Everybody knows my name.
stressed. I wasn't stressed. Like if I could write down, if I could get money for every time I hear a person say, I must be going in the right direction because life is starting to get hard.
That's a true statement. That is a true statement right there.
Everybody want to go back to the comfort zone. You think it's only your child? No, check your experience. You know what I'm saying? And just be like, yo, when I have to grow and life is hitting me, I want to go back to the comfort zone.
Everybody does. And then you can't find it because you waited too long.
Comfort zone is God. You done forgot the song. And it's true. Like let the kids not play the song for a month. They forget it. So we want them to, none of these zones are really bad. But I think in the beginning, like I said, if you understand what they mean and how to get through each of those zones, like you could really find success. So, learning zone, seeing opportunities. All the opportunities are in the learning zone. They're not in the comfort zone. They're not in the fear zone. They're in the learning zone. Problem solving, learning zone. Acquisition of new skills in the learning zone. You can't get a new skill in your comfort zone. It has to be in the learning zone. Expanding the comfort zone, that happens in the learning zone. So Colette, this was really great information that you shared today.
I'm
Like,
so glad.
I feel like I am drawing from this conversation, and I already see in my mind's eye how I will continue to flesh this out more and do more for my kids, like with their learning. Because I'm like, some of my older students, like sometimes I might misjudge them because I'm still not seeing how, even at their big grown age, you know, they still need guidance in this area. And I know maybe parents, you can agree with me on that, where it's just like, we over it. Like, you 16, you 14, you're 15, but
They're still learning. They're
they're still,
still learning. And a lot of times that is a very hard age because teenagers clock out. And what I mean by clock out, it means that they no longer see reality as it really is. They're caught up in their own reality, and their reality is often wrong.
Mhm.
And so with teenagers, you will find that a teenager will accept a hug faster than your little 4 year old. Your little 4 year old will push you away. But you give a teenager a hug, they're taking that hug because they have come to a place where they are out of the comfort zone and they have no idea in which direction in which to go. And this is one of the hardest steps for us. And they are difficult in this stage because they are scared. They
Yep.
don't know what to do next. Too many things are hitting them at the same time. All of a sudden, they have hair in places they never had. All of a sudden, their voice is deeper than it ever was. All of a sudden, they like these people and they don't even know why they like these people, and they used to dislike these people. Why do they like them now? They're in confusion. And then also they're starting to change. Their physical features often change. So they're in a state of confusion. So for
And
them,
let me add to the list. And they might not have even known or been trained to kind of see their learning style. So they're
right.
moving from being codependent on their parents, right? To now their parents being like, okay, you need to be independent. And they're not used to being independent. Like these learning styles push a child to be have a level of independence,
And
like,
have a level of confidence
right.
because they know what they need to do. They kind of know what they need to do next. They may not know exactly, but once they get pushed in the not even pushed, once they are guided in the direction that they need to go, all of a sudden they will start to develop their own strategies and skill sets based on what you have taught them earlier.
Right. So I definitely need to like draw from this conversation and do a lot more. Yeah, but I think this conversation was necessary. And then the last zone, which we're going to be talking about next month and sharing on next month, is the growth zone, where things
Okay.
where things happen. Like, you can't hit the growth zone if you don't do if you don't go through the learning zone. Like, parents are just like, come out the comfort zone, and I need you in the growth zone where
Of
things are
going from the
happening.
fear zone and then you're coming into the comfort zone. You cannot go from the fear zone into the comfort zone because you are fearful.
And you need the skills in order to,
To
like.
go to step forward. And it's really true. You need that foundation. That foundational knowledge and skill set is only built through practice and only built with knowledge.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can blindly get there, and oftentimes that's how we were ourselves growing up. We blindly got to that point
What you
and we
mean?
were like,
What you mean? You mean now, girl? I'm just like, listen, and which is why I made this part of the curriculum, the piano curriculum, because I'm just like, no, I know what it is to not know this, and I'm gonna give it to you at 4 years old, even if it's your first glimpse of it, where you might see it later on in life and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But giving my young people an opportunity to
to
have what we didn't
grow.
have. Let me tell you what we had. We had that belt, okay? Like, that was the comfort, the fair zone.
We didn't have no yummy yum. We had the belt. We had the slap. We got the words. We got the comparisons. We got everything.
We got all of that. And listen, we had to rip that stuff off and really get into that self-love journey where it's just like,
Yes, yes.
how do I do this without faring?
What the outcome may be. How do I do this? And I really don't know what I'm doing. I mean, like, how do I do this? Oh my gosh. I so children, you are being blessed because you have a teacher who's not even worked herself, but she's working and making sure that you are the best that you can be. This kind of curriculum I have never heard of in any other school system, and I have to say that it will change your lives if you follow it. Honestly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Absolutely. Like, and I think this is one of the reasons why I left the Board of Education, because we weren't really able to speak to the heart of the child. We were both of the subjects that I was teaching, math and science, they both had tests at the end of the school year. And I was like struggling to really teach my kids concepts, right? Like even with math, like one plus one, that plus means and. So I'm like, anytime you're looking at an equation and you see the plus sign, say and. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be looking for an answer and not understanding as you go. So understanding has always been a thing where I'm like, you know what? The Bible says, and I don't mean for it to get biblical, but let's take it back to the
Let's take
basics.
it. Let's take it.
It says, in everything get wisdom, and with wisdom get
The
understanding.
understanding.
So you can have
Proverbs.
you can have knowledge, but if you don't understand it, then you can't have change. So I really want my kids to have an opportunity to understand, so that when someone gives them information, they can process it, right? On their own, like they can look at it and they can do it. Listen, my kids all the time, I love my parents, some of my parents, because one of my parents last week was like, oh, I was telling my daughter, let's impress Miss Burton. And here's the new piece that you're going to have, because I give them the list of pieces that they're going to have. Why don't we go to the next piece and do that? And she was like, I can't do it. It's a new piece. It's hard. And I was like, no, mommy is absolutely correct. Like, absolutely correct. You should listen to mommy. And then I was like, well, let's try it. Let's pull up the piece on the screen. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let you play it. And I sat back, and my 6-year-old student played the next phase. And he's
Wow.
like, and I'm like, that's it. Because I need my students to know how to count. I need them to know how to use the metronome. I need them to know their acronyms. I need them to be able to read music. I need them to know their intervals. I need them to know if those notes are going up and they're going down. And once you know that, follow the instructions.
That is music theory in a bottle.
In a bottle. Why is it so important, right? So, Colette, listen, we're gonna definitely have conversation off the rip, and I'm gonna definitely have you back to just share with my community. But
Thank you. Thank
when
you.
I say you have watered
Thank you.
my soul today and has sparked a little bit of inspiration, that this week we have no school, but I'm going to still jump on and take the time to like revisit the curriculum and to make sure that we are hitting our children on all learning style cylinders, so that they don't have to fall away because they are overwhelmed or they feel like they can't. But I need piano to be a better choice for them. To
I
say,
think so. And I think that with what you're doing, you're finding out how to teach your students better. And I just thought about something with nature. You have plants. If your students can count how many plants you have, how many leaves they have, and then you can make something like, when you water your when you practice, you water your ability to do better. No, you water yourself. And when you water yourself, you're able to grow better.
so here's the thing. I have a book on Amazon. It's called Sam Believes in Herself Again. And I use the illustration of the plant, exactly as you said, seed, watering your gift. And check it out on Amazon if you guys are able to check it out on Amazon. But yes, exactly what you said. But now that you said that, I think I'm going to do an exercise with my kids. in that same way. I'm going to post it later. It just came to mind. I'm going to gather my thoughts on that. I'm going to tag you in it. And we're going to see how this
And
works
we're
out.
gonna spread it. I'm gonna spread it
Spread it, girl.
because we need more teachers like you. Teachers who are willing to not only stand on the principles, but to be foundational.
Mhm.
That is so missing in most curriculums, unfortunately. And
Unfortunate.
so we thank you, Miss Burton, for being who you are. We thank you. We thank you as my
And
everything.
we thank you for being who you are. Listen, it's the grit that makes me who I am. So I'm like, I
Right.
didn't wake up like this.
Come
But
on, girl.
in humbling myself to the process and to honestly evaluating why I became a teacher, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't become a teacher for me. I became a teacher for my children.
Well
So
said.
we here for them, you know.
That's
So
it. That's it.
things
That's
happen
it.
today to change lives today and tomorrow. Colette, thank you for sharing with us
You're
on the
so
learning
welcome.
style, a
You're
place
welcome.
that we learn to overcome. Truly, 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 truly a blessing to us today. And we will definitely see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Be
welcome.
well.
So we are so excited at BBSM. Today was such a great conversation, chopping it up with Colette Boston. You can find her on Instagram. She runs a show called Community Connection, where she is um, talking to different people within her community to better her community. She has conferences, men's conferences, women's conferences. She's actually having a music conference in May, which we will definitely share on our page. Um, because she is part of our community and we love her. So we hope that you guys love her too. And you're going to catch us next time for Parents with Parents. I don't want to practice, but we share tips with you that help your kids to really embrace practicing and you not to be too stressed out about it. So have a great one and we will see you next time.